The origins of the universe have always both confounded me as a Christian and also fascinated me because of my love for science. I was in the science club along with other things. You know, I was a wrestlerette, I was in track, I was in chorus and drama and all that kind of stuff, and studied music theory. But I love science. I took extra science and extra history and art as well. Love art history. Anyways, and as a kid growing up, I was a member of the computer club, the science club, along with FFA and FCA. I went to science camp. Thought I wanted to be a rocket scientist for a little while because I loved the fact that we built rockets and went to the beach to set them off. And that stuff's just always fascinated me. I did a full thesis on nuclear reactors when I was younger as well. And I got top marks and a lot of really good feedback from my teacher when I did it. So with that being said, I have an intense love of science. And it always, you know, in school and stuff, you know, they teach you about the Big Bang Theory and the theory of evolution and all those things, and dinosaurs, and I loved going to museums, and that just always fascinated me. Biology, loved biology and chemistry. But so being able to wrap my head around some of the spiritual experiences that I've had over the years and growing up and being a Christian and knowing that how do I bring about the fact that creation, according to the Bible, happened in 6 days, because on the seventh day he rested, and science. So that's something I'm going to delve into. I've got notes. I don't know if I can do it in 10 minutes, but I'm going to try, and I know I've already used up almost 2. So, years ago, I was praying, and I have pinned, you know, my testimony about how God revealed to me that he was real. And I still for a while struggled with the Bible, and I knew that the Bible historically was accurate. I knew about the Dead Sea Scrolls and that there's over 26,000 manuscripts, and that historically Jesus was an actual figure. But I struggled to bring together all of that until one day I was praying, and as a mom, my kids were asleep. Tended to pray, like, my prayer closet for a while was like the bathroom and the shower, because it was the only place I could get privacy. Or after the kids went to sleep, that's when I would do my reading and my studying, and I would stay up late, along with working full time. But I came to a point where I was like, Lord, I know you're real, and I want to know who you are. Who am I worshiping? Who are you? What are you? Who, you know, God, I want to know who you are. And as I was listening to my worship music and praying this and seeking, the Lord kind of spoke to me. The Holy Spirit spoke to me, and I got this vision in my mind, and I saw an atom, like, and not atom from the Bible, but I mean like an atomic. So like protons, neutrons, electrons. And I saw, like, it zoomed in on this single atom. And I could see it in my mind, and it was moving, and it's rotating. And he said, that force that holds everything together, the force that scientists can observe but can't explain, that's stronger than gravity, that force that tells everything how to behave and how the atoms are supposed to go together, that force is me. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind. So I was like, Lord, I felt like I needed to study the Bible, but I didn't know where to begin. He said, start in the beginning, start in Genesis. So as I'm starting to reread Genesis, I started to notice things that I hadn't noticed before. And I started to realize that the story of Genesis actually lined up with the Big Bang Theory. Now, this was before I made the connection that, I believe it's, I don't know if I'm going to say his name right, Georges Lemaitre, Father Lemaitre. He was a priest who was actually the father of the Big Bang Theory. And he actually came around about the same time Albert Einstein's theory of relativity supported this, and later on, the Hubble. So the Big Bang Theory and the fact that the universe is expanding and has a beginning is very, very widely accepted scientific theory. And I'm going to stick with the word scientific theory because for something to be a scientific law or a scientific fact, it has to be proven. You have to be able to observe it. So a lot of the things that scientists have become well documented is because it's observable. So while I believe in the Big Bang Theory, which probably sounds weird as a Christian, I believe in adaptation. I don't believe in the theory of evolution, as far as I know that things evolved over time, but I don't believe it's possible. I don't believe we came from monkeys, okay? It's not possible genetically and biologically for one species to become a completely different species. So while there are markers that are close genetically, they are different. So like a tiger and a lion and a domesticated cat, they're still cats, they're still felines, they're still part of the same genetic family. So, but I recognize that things evolve. Now, how I came to this conclusion was as I was reading the first book of the Bible. I was like, okay, God, you said to start in the beginning, so I'm going to start in the beginning. So I started reading Genesis, and it dawned on me that the sun and the moon are not created until the fourth day. Now, in my mind, that blew my mind, because for me, that lifted the constriction of there being a 24-hour day. Because how can you have a 24-hour day? Because we measure time by a 24-hour day by the sun and the moon, and by the rotation of the earth. So how can you have a 24-hour day if there's no sun or moon to measure a day by? Now, I do know that it says that was the first morning and night, but there is also a verse in the Bible, and it says that 1,000 years is as a day to the Lord, and that we don't know what a day was to God. We know what we measure a day by. So that verse is found in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. And it says, but do not overlook this one fact, beloved, that with the Lord, one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as a day. So that was one of the first things that kind of clicked. And then when you look up the Hebrew word for day that is used in the Strong's Concordance of the Bible, it actually translates as an age or a period of time. Now, it can also be a day. It's a measurement of time. So that, in and of itself, I said, well, if the sun and moon were not created yet, and think about it, we were created in the image of God, and God gave us all these gifts, these like talents. There's artists, there's musicians, and I started to view God as like this artist, that he took his time and he created all these things and he beautifully brought them together. And what if he took his time? We don't know that it was a 24-hour day. He's God. It definitely could be. And in my YouTube channel, I have a playlist called historical. I think it's historical biblical. It's along those lines, historical biblical documentaries. And there's one that is Genesis history, which is phenomenal. And it's the first one that really made sense to me, that made me go, okay, it could have been 6 days. It could have happened a lot faster. But at the same time, knowing that the Hebrew word for day is an age or a period of time, and knowing that the sun and the moon were not created till the fourth day, and so we don't know for sure that it was measured. It could have been thousands or millions of years. God could have taken his time. That just freed me up so much in my mind to be able to accept the concept of intelligent design. those are my late night thoughts.